Join me on a little tour of the best garden I've ever been involved with. This garden is growing where there was a forest fire. A forest fire was some months ago, I don't remember when, but since then we have planted a bunch of seeds here, and also the native plants have come in. So in here we've got all these squash blossoms. These are going to become calabasas squash, and there's very specific bugs that live on these that don't seem to be anywhere else, and so we're actually increasing biodiversity just by having these plants here. Now these squash blossoms we can actually harvest and then eat. These are very popular. These bugs are in there. It's so cool. See that? Bugs. Very neat looking bugs. We can eat these squash blossoms. There's also some beans in here, some lettuce just growing right in here. And the cool thing about this garden, the number one coolest thing, is that there's no irrigation involved. Now, the fire cleared the land, so the fire did the work that we would have done tilling the soil. Although tilling the soil is actually kind of controversial. It could be that tilling the soil is a bad idea for soil fertility long term. And this gets into the annuals perennials question, so which one we should grow. In this case, we planted lots of annuals in here. We planted no perennials because this area may change in its use. And so, I want to put trails in here. Right now it's hard to walk through here. There's branches and stuff. This is like a dead tree left over from the fire. And so it's kind of hard to walk in here. Here we've got amaranth. This is a purple amaranth. And the whole plant's edible, not just the puffed seed thing. Look in here. Here's more lechugas, lettuces. And we've also got lots of native plants, some of which we don't want. One of the native plants is congira. I forget the name in English. And it's poisonous. So we actually should probably come... Ooh, this is a sunflower going to come up right here. It's so cool. More squash. An oak tree coming up real quick. And I'm sort of disappointed, I guess, that the native plants have come back so quickly, because I'm so happy to have the annuals that I'd like to grow as food. But that's okay. I mean, I want total biodiversity to increase. And so, it's all success. Here we go. We got some kind of a curly leaf, lettucey, kale type of stuff. We ate this in a salad the other day. It was great. Over here, behind me, we've got lots of these flowers. These are all daikon crossed here with radish. Ooh, that's spicy, this curly stuff. The crossed one makes a slightly rounder daikon, and we had that, we grated it and put it in a salad. So the cool thing is these are going to seed, and I already have enough seeds of this, and I have even more. I'm going to be able to share these seeds with anybody. It's awesome. These seed pods of them also seem to be edible. I should probably look up whether all parts of the plant are edible or not. We've also got tobacco in here. Tobacco is one of my least favorite plants in the entire world, but I can grow it with very little work. So that's what we're doing. We've got turnips up here. And this really goes, this is extensive. This is, I don't know, a couple acres at least of gardens. And again, the point of these gardens isn't just that there's food, but there's biodiversity, and also there's food with very little work. We spent literally 1 or 2 days planting this area, and now we have way more of the salad and things than we can use. Also, there's going to be tons of squash. The great thing about the squash is that they store well, so you can use them for months and months and months, as opposed to the lettuces, which will go to seed and then not be available. More squash. There's also a selga, which is chard. And there's huisontle. There's tons of huisontle. Now, I started with 1 package of seeds for huisontle, and now I have thousands of plants, literally thousands, and those are all going to go to seed. And this is in, I think, 3 years only. This is why I say plants are the best investment, is because you get this exponential curve of growth if you have the land and the time. Now in this case, here's a tobacco right here. In this case, there wasn't that much time. This is the tobacco leaves. So we can harvest those and then hang them upside down and dry them. And that's cool, I guess. But then I have tobacco and people will put it in their lungs. Not a fan, but it's a potential product. I guess, I got lots of decisions to make about what kind of things we focus on and why. And why we have the products we do, just like we consider what products we use very carefully. This is chard all in here. So tons of chard up in there. You can see it right in there, yeah. Another thing that's odd this year is there's way more mosquitoes than normal. Normally there's very few mosquitoes, unless we leave water standing out in pots and things, or barrels. And this year we've got just a billion mosquitoes. It's so annoying. Anyway, once again, this has happened before, we'll be producing more food than we can eat. And that's actually a good thing because it's being done with very little labor. So we're learning how to do agriculture in a whole different style, without tractors and gasoline and all these mechanized things, being more gentle to the earth while also not destroying the native plants. This is a huge success, but really, in order to make it a success to spread in the world, we need economic success. So this has to be made into a supply chain thing for feeding people. And that is a whole nother can of worms. I'm not good at that, and I also don't care about it. One of the weird things about me as a gardener is that I actually don't care about harvesting at all. That's why I'm recording this video while someone else is over there harvesting so we can eat the food. Once something is growing well, I consider that plant to be a solved puzzle. I could say solved problem, but I guess it's better to say solved puzzle. And so at that point, I just am not interested. It's solved. And I've done that with a variety of plants now. But I several times have grown a surplus. And then when I have the surplus, I just end up giving it away. So I let people harvest sometimes. My preference, rather than giving it away, is to get other people growing things that need no effort. That's by far more interesting to me than making it a business. Although I guess I gotta survive, so I should make it a business. This amaranth is absolutely beautiful. There's just tons of it. I mean, now most of the foods here, except for the squash, are not that great for preserving. I guess the tobacco can be preserved. More daikon up here. And so, yeah, I mean, as far as I can see in this area, it's crazy. There's daikon, amaranth. There's more tobacco over there. I saw it the other day. There's at least 5 kinds of lettuce. What's cool about these different lettuces is that they're not available in this area. So I can actually give the seeds away to people who do grow things, and they'll reproduce them. I'm not that interested in giving seeds away to people who are just going to grow it and then use the product. My goal is that they grow it and then they reproduce it more. Wow, that's so cool. It's amazing to me. This forest fire has been so instructive. It's like I'm in forest fire class. It was a class in fighting it, and in a class, I mean, I'd already fought forest fires before, but this one was more intense. It was bigger and everything. And then watching this garden grow, this is seriously the coolest garden I've ever seen. We got broccoli up here. There was cabbage back there I didn't show you. And so seeing what is coming back naturally after the forest fire is actually really interesting as well. Some of the native plants have uses for humans. Some of them don't. One of the other odd things about this style of agriculture and gardening is that it's not actually focused on human consumption. There's lots here for humans to consume, but we got to realize that we're trying to increase total biodiversity here, total biodiversity. So we're trying to get as much genetic code living here as possible, and that includes plants and insects. So, birds come here and they drop off seeds, and then those plants grow, and so I'm seeing native plants that I haven't seen before growing, and it's really totally exciting. And then other types of bugs. Last time I was here the other day, there was a huge bug that had orange stripes on its back, and it was really very big. It seemed like almost a small hummingbird. And that was kind of cool. The person I was with was frightened by it, but I don't think it's dangerous. And so we're seeing really the restoration of this land continuing, because this is not virgin forest. A long time ago, I don't know how many years ago, 60, 70, I don't know if time goes by, and I wasn't here, this was actually cow land. And so we don't have cows here. And so the land is slowly restoring itself. And we're part of that process. In this case, the forest fire was doing its own job. And so the land has changed significantly. And I'm seeing that every year. It's totally exciting. And, I go into my neighbor's land, and it doesn't have this kind of undergrowth that I'm seeing in other places. There's spots now where you can't walk on the land because it's just tons of plants, like 3 meters tall. Like not trees, but bushes and stuff. Just so full of life. And if you go to land that has had cows on it in the last year or even the last 5 years, then that land has been stomped down. The soil's been compacted. There's less mushrooms. Well, there's more of certain kinds of mushrooms and less of others. And so watching this whole process, it's not totally scientific in how we're doing it, but because, we're not measuring every plant and doing super sciencey things, but we see the changes, and also we develop an intuition then for what happens under given conditions. So anyway, that's some rambling about this garden. It goes just way over there, and we didn't even plant everywhere because there just wasn't time. Labor costs and time costs. But this is proof that we can do agriculture and set ourselves up for food forest farming. This is the first stage of that in this area. And then also for kind of a hunting, gathering way of doing agriculture. Because if you look at the history of agriculture, the first types of agriculture were not industrially intensive, obviously. There wasn't oil, there wasn't tractors. We didn't destroy the land. We were nomadically wandering and picking up seeds from one place and eating the stuff and dropping seeds off in another in a fairly unintentional way. Here, we can actually do agriculture in a more intentional way. We can also do something that's fairly interesting, is the selective breeding of plants and the combining of plants, through their pollination and so forth. So we can get a type of seed in here, and we're not trying to grow it necessarily true to type. It's okay if it was a hybrid, and we don't expect it to remain in its pure form. We expect it to go native and to survive or not based on us collecting the seeds and then planting those seeds. We're willing to do that because there are plants that will reseed naturally, and there's other plants that will not reseed on their own. So we'll collect the seeds. Super easy to do. One plant can produce 1,000 seeds in some cases, depending on the plant. And so we're gathering those and then putting them in the ground in good spots before the rains. Sometimes some work is needed there with tilling the soil, etc. But as I mentioned, that's controversial, really. Ideally we wouldn't till the soil at all, I think. Whatever. There's no one rule for things. We come up with rules and then follow them or not, depending on the goals and the spot and the need. So anyway, well, I'm good at rambling. I'm an excellent rambler. Ramble on, mofos.